Hey there friends, David Paulides from Mystery Rift. Welcome back to the channel. This is our missing person segment, and today we are diving back into Truckers Part 2. When I initially started on this research, I thought it was just a handful of isolated events, maybe a few statistical anomalies within the records. But as I've dug deeper into the history of professional drivers, trying to figure out what we truly have here, the sheer scope of it has gone completely bonkers. I can tell you right now, there will be far more than just 2 segments to the Missing Truckers series, because I believe this phenomenon is going to be the entire axle. I used to say, another spoke in the wheel, but the pattern of these disappearances is now huge and undeniable. The vanishing acts of these men follow a deeply chilling script, one that seems almost calculated and written by some unseen external force. I'm going to keep pursuing this pattern and fill in these dark details as we move forward through the timeline. Before we get into the cases, I want to briefly touch on something important sent in by the community: the disturbing subject of geoengineering. The fundamental question we must ask remains: what in the world are they spraying from above? We have very compelling evidence, including detailed testimony from an Idaho weatherman who recognized the obvious fact that something strange was deliberately occurring in the skies. These patterns were not standard contrails. They were controlled, persistent maneuvers that defied all conventional meteorological explanation. The research escalated into the genuinely unsettling when a professional chemist in Hawaii decided to compare soil samples from 2 locations. He took soil from under an old, protected house and compared it to soil from a nearby exposed mountaintop. The findings were shocking. The exposed mountain soil was saturated with abnormal, dangerous concentrations of metals like aluminum and barium. Conversely, the soil under the sheltered house was completely pure, pointing directly to the skies as the long-term vector for this strange atmospheric deposit. Now, let's transition back to the serious missing persons material. Our first case involves Robert Taylor Thompson, a muscular, athletic man who was 35 years old and vanished on December 2nd, 1948. These mid-1942 cases are critically important because that entire era was historically marked by a dramatic and suspicious spike in unexplained aerial activity and other high strangeness across North America. It was a decade of intense, unrecorded activity. Robert was a highly reliable truck driver and serviceman for the National Cash Register Company, living in Oshawa, Ontario, with his wife, Betty. They shared a rock-solid, consistent, daily routine built on reliability and total trust. The specific location itself is a major clue. Oshawa is located right on Lake Ontario. This particular waterfront region is a known geographical hotspot for multiple unexplained missing person cases, including one of the strangest I ever documented. Robert's standard routine meant dropping Betty off and then picking her up promptly at 4:30 p.m., sometimes waiting at a nearby tavern beforehand. On December 2nd, the established routine was utterly shattered. Betty waited outside at 4:30 p.m., but Robert, a man known for his ironclad punctuality, never arrived. When she called the tavern, the bartender reported Robert had left earlier at 4:15 p.m. with a strange figure, a guy in a dark brown suit who looked intensely official. By the next day, the local police located Robert's abandoned panel truck in Alexander Park. Inside, they discovered his empty wallet and various papers strewn across the floorboard in disarray. Officers specifically noted one peculiar detail. The gearshift knob was forcibly bent or broken, strongly suggesting a chaotic struggle had taken place in the cab. Yet, the wallet was merely empty, not violently stolen in a typical robbery, creating a fundamental contradiction. The case went cold for 4 days, raising fears of murder, until December 6th, when Robert Thompson suddenly reappeared 340 miles away in Montreal, standing outside another company office, completely disoriented and bewildered. He was found confused, asking strangers if they recognized his face. He claimed he woke up with no memory of his journey and only knew which company to seek out because the name was mysteriously written inside his pants. A doctor examined him, confirming the strangest part of the incident. There were absolutely no physical injuries, no cuts, no scratches, or signs of the violent struggle suggested by the abandoned truck's damage. The only physical change was a missing tooth. Robert's total amnesia only broke for one single, terrifying memory fragment. He recalled being in a distant city called Brockville, involved in unloading a red truck of something entirely unknown. And then his consciousness simply cut out, like a compromised recording being erased. When dealing with these clean, long-distance reappearances, we must seriously consider forces far outside the realm of common human crime. Let's assume non-human or advanced terrestrial entities possess technology for temporary mind control and teleportation. These reliable, solitary truckers are clearly ideal targets. They are easy sources to extract without witnesses in the cab, perfect for forced labor or transportation of mysterious cargo across great distances. They are then simply put back hundreds of miles away from their vehicle. The lack of conventional physical injuries, despite the truck's clear internal damage, strongly suggests the struggle was not corporeal, but perhaps energetic or psychological, a battle against an induced, controlled state, designed to wipe his memory. The resulting amnesia, particularly the specific memory fragment of unloading a mysterious red truck, may be the absolute telltale sign of an advanced, external energy influence, or a temporary memory wipe following an encounter he was never meant to remember. It speaks of non-human involvement. We move now to the second anomaly, which shockingly and perfectly mirrors the first. Clarence Weiss. He was also exactly 35 years old and vanished on May 27th, 1959. Clarence was a highly competent and reliable long-haul driver for a company in California entrusted with a valuable, perishable load of fresh fruit destined for Chicago. His credentials as a stellar, dependable employee were absolutely unimpeachable. On May 27th, his semi-truck was found abandoned 4 miles north of Nebraska City, right next to the Missouri River. In a massive professional error, the doors were unlocked, inviting more questions than answers. His personal effects, including his heavy coat and suitcase, were left untouched right there on the driver's seat, completely disregarded as he walked away. The most glaring operational oversight was that this large semi-truck was found completely out of gas, an implausible failing for such a veteran driver. The troopers immediately escalated the search, focusing intently on the riverbanks and putting out a nationwide alert for the missing driver across all major police channels. The company confirmed this behavior was totally abnormal and terrifying for Weiss. 4 days later, on May 30th, the familiar, bizarre pattern reasserted itself. State troopers in Wichita, Kansas, 257 miles directly south of his truck, spotted Clarence wandering aimlessly on foot in the middle of the night. He was found completely disoriented, unable to state who he was or how he had traveled the vast distance. Once identified, he was put on the phone with his terrified wife, who desperately asked him what he could possibly remember. Clarence confirmed he had no memory of the intervening days. He recalled driving toward Nebraska City and then nothing. He had no recollection of parking the truck, getting out, or traversing the 257 miles. The simple question remains, how does a man cross that vast distance with no conscious recall? If these isolated incidents were all clustered geographically, occurring in the same town or county, people would connect them immediately, saying, something weird is going on. But by spreading them out over decades and across multiple states, the pattern remains statistically invisible to ordinary law enforcement. The consistency in the victimology is undeniable. They are all solitary males, operating a truck, and rated as highly reliable, a highly specific profile of a target. This is why I am breaking this narrative to you now. There is a specific, non-random mechanism at work here. We must ask a fundamental historical question. Why was amnesia so strangely prevalent in the 40 seconds and 50 seconds missing person cases? Perhaps the external mechanism causing it, be it advanced energy or some form of control, shifted its focus and application in later decades. This isn't typical memory loss. It's an induced targeted amnesia, the clear signature of an outside high-level influence. These men are selected, utilized for a purpose. Their memory erased, and then redeposited hundreds of miles away. Part 3 of The Missing Truckers will only deepen this dark, unsolved mystery. Paula Day's out.